Welcome back, everybody. It's Cree Rama from Junk Journal Divas. Hello, my friends. It's Cree Rama, and today I am making some flowers. So I thought I would stop here and have you guys come in and join me. So there's a lot of different ways that you can make them. If you see this one, it has this kind of smooth edge where I folded the fabric. Or it can just have a, like a rough edge like this. So you can just experiment. Of course, obviously, whatever fabric you're using makes a difference too if it's thicker. So we're going to play around today and just experiment a little bit. You can see I put some buttons on these, lots of different options that you can do. So I'm going to play around and try a couple of things and see what happens. Okay, so first things, fabric strips. And if you don't have anything that's really long, it's okay because you can just kind of sew them together. Also, I like using these. You can see I have circles kind of on the back of my flowers. And so if you don't have a circle punch, it's fine. Just you can cut some circles out of any kind of scrap paper because you don't see them. Also, I like that it makes it easier when you glue it onto a project because I'm pretty much using my flowers on journal covers and things like that. So it just makes it a lot easier to glue them down. So I've got some of those, of course, my scissors. There's a lot of different options. You can do hand sewing to hold some of this stuff together. I'm going to use my glue gun. You can use double-sided sticky tape for some stuff. What other supplies do I have? I grabbed some fun buttons and needle and thread, and I think that's it. So I'm going to start with this one. Now this would actually be nice to just have that rough edge, but I cut a couple of strips, so we'll try it both ways and see what we like. So the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to fold this in half. Now just to hold it, I usually put some double-sided sticky tape. You could just go ahead and sew it, but I kind of like for it to be held together while I'm doing my sewing. So I'm just going to take some double-sided sticky tape. I use this stuff so much. And like I said, this is just to kind of hold it down while I'm doing my sewing. I'm not really a very skilled sewer. So let's peel this off and then go ahead and fold it. Let's see, what do we got here? Get some of these strings off. Okay. So let's fold this again. There we go. Okay, guys, I've got my thread here, and this is like an embroidery thread or something. Okay, so I am going to, first of all, I want these to kind of be flush at the ends, so I'm just going to cut these so that they are. Okay, so I've got my strip folded in half. I'm just going to start at one end. Let's see which, yeah, we want this side. So I'm starting at the end that is the frayed end, and I'm just going to go up and down, up and down. And this does not have to be perfect. Actually, nothing about this has to be perfect. They're boho flowers. They're supposed to be messy. Okay, and then once I kind of get a bunch on my needle here, I'm gonna pull it through. I'm just gonna pull it down to where my knot is. I guess I have 2 knots in here, but that's okay. All right. So this is all we have. It just kind of is bunching it up. And then let's keep going. And let's pull this through. Let me make sure my string is not getting caught on anything. It tends to get a little bit crazy here. All right, so this is what we have. It's big swirly, big swirly. So next what I'm gonna do is take one of my circles, and basically what I'm gonna do is glue this down so that it makes a circle. So see, I've got a circle, and then this is the leftover part. I'm gonna glue the bottom part down, and then I'll have this little flap left over that I can kind of play around with on the top here. So it'll look kind of like this, and I'm gonna glue it down first. Okay, so let me go ahead and just tie this off here. I got way too long of a piece of thread, but that's all right. Okay. So put that aside for now. And I've got my glue gun. So let's see here. Make sure it's pulled, gathered the way that I want it to be. I'm gonna start here. Okay, let's put a little bit of glue. And we'll just start on the one end, and I'm just gonna hold this for a minute to make sure that it's hardened. Now, of course, if you want, you could stitch this and sew it together. And I've seen people use fabric circles also, but I just find these to be a lot easier. All right, so I've got it glued down, this little part here. So now I'm just gonna go a little bit farther. Add some glue. Then what do we have left here? So now I just have this little part right here, and then I will have this flap left over. Okay, so let's put a little bit more here. And now we have this little flap left over to kind of just take and twist. and glue down. So it'll look like that. I just got to glue it all down. And I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to poke my needle up from the bottom. This is why I like the long needle. I'm just going to tie this. So, I mean, this is fine as is, but I want to put a little dabs of glue in there just to kind of hold it where I want it to be to get the shape. Just a tiny little bit, just to tack it down in some areas. Ooh, that was way too much glue. So here's two that are finished. So simple and easy. Now I like them to be a little more flat, but like here's one that I left kind of fluffier. But it's up to you. But for journals, I kind of like to squash them down a little bit. Now I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm just taking this strip. Now this was already sewn. I just cut it off at the edge. I don't know if this was a curtain or what it was, but I am just going to use this and I'm going to kind of pleat it. So let's cut these edges off. Okay, so again, I'm starting with the end that is sewn together here. And I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. Just to hold this down. I'm going to be careful because this is thin fabric. And then I'm just taking it, like pinching it and making a little pleat. Okay, we'll do a little bit more here. And then once I get going, you can put a little tiny bit here and also in the back because you know, it'll hold the pleat in both places. Okay, so now I made it the whole way around. So now I've got this extra piece here. So I'm just going to kind of work my way in, making my pleats closer to the center. And then once I go around the second time, I'm just going to kind of take all this extra stuff. So I've got this little piece here. Now let me just put this down. So this is what I have right now. Now I find the easiest thing to do for the center, let's see, let me make a knot here. Okay, so I want to take my needle and I'm going to come up through the center. And then I'm just going to kind of grab this middle piece here. And I'm just kind of going in, twisting it, twist it around a bit. So see, it just kind of clumps it together. There we go. So I'm going to just tie this. So this one's a little bit different. As you can see, you don't have the bunched up. I think these are, I mean, they're a little more flat. So next I'm going to use this fabric. I love black and white and I also love polka dots. So I'm going to use this fabric. Now I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm just making my pleats going around that outer edge. And now for this one, I think I'm going to put a button in the center of it. So I'm going the whole way around, and then I'll just add a little bit more pleating, another row, because this is pretty thin, so that doesn't make it too bulky. And also for the buttons, I kind of like to pick my more flat buttons because I just don't like it to be too bulky on a journal. So once I get to the center, I'll just go ahead and cut that extra off. And then I'm just experimenting with different buttons that I want to use here. And I kind of like the big chunky buttons, you know, they're really wide buttons. It looks just kind of wonky. But for this one, this is like a black and white and it has some gold in it. Kind of hard to see on the video. So this is not a very long piece of thread, so I'm going to go ahead and tie this off because I'm afraid that I'll pull it through. And then I'll go ahead and go through the other 2 holes and tie it off again. And you guys, I have put these on a purse, you know, like a big flower on the front of a purse, and a beach bag. I put a little cluster, so there's a lot of other ways that you can use these too, and they're just really cute, and I think they're kind of fun to make. So you can see I made one that was just gathered in the center, and then another one that I put the button. And now I want to try using just my glue because this fabric is pretty thin. And it worked great. Now I'm using Art Glitter brand glue, which I love. It's my go-to glue. And it holds pretty much everything, unless it's something really heavy that I need to use a, you know, tacky glue. So I'm just gonna glue down this edge and just kind of fold it here. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, just gluing it down along the edges, doing my pleating. And I'll put a little dab of glue on the inside too, on the front and the back. So both sides of those pleats are being tacked down. And I think this was pretty easy. So if you've got a thinner fabric, this was really easy to make. If it's a little bit thicker, then I would use the your hot glue. So I'm just making my way the whole way around here. And then I can add a little bit more, like that other second layer if you want to. If you want to add that. If you want something to be more flat, like if you want to use it in a journal on a page, you could use something different in the center, even like another little piece of fabric or something. And this is really flat, so it would be fine. But I'm just going to cover this up a little bit more and then cut that excess fabric off. Then we can kind of experiment with our buttons and see which button I want to use here. And I think I'll go with this gold one. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and go down the 2 holes, tie it, and then do my other 2 and finish it off. Now I think next up, since I'm kind of playing with the fabric strips, I want to make some tassels. So I think that might be my next video. If you have tried making these flowers or there's a different style that you love, please let me know in the comments what your favorite style is, or maybe you have an idea that makes it easier, because we're always looking for an easier way. If you like this video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, thank you so much for joining me today.